Hey guys, Bryce from Trick-Tools here, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the adjustable flanging dies that we have available for the Minimax and Pullmax machines. So these ProLine adjustable flanging dies are exactly what they say they are. So if you need to create a flange on the edge of your panel, basically this die setup, so you have the bottom piece here that's kind of an L shape that has a slide system in the side with a couple of threaded holes, and this block here slides on here so that with this top die it's got a, obviously it's machined to a point, so that way you can do flanging. You can set this depth stop up as a spot to be able to use as a guide, whatever depth you want of a flange here, and then you'll be applying up pressure. And then as the upper die here is doing the hammering down, it will help create your flange. And what that allows you to do, as opposed to using a straight break or something like that, you can actually do flanging on a curved edge, something that's not straight, and still be able to achieve a flange on the edge of it. So now with that, when you do a flange on the edge of a curved panel, it does require some shrinking and stretching, that sort of thing, if you're going to be keeping that panel flat, in the plane that you would traditionally think of if you were to bend a flange on a straight break. So what you do is, getting this set up, you whatever your flange width is, just using a ruler here, I'm going to go ahead and set up a we're going to work in and do, I think we're going to do like a 3/4 inch flange. So I'm going to bring this back down. I'm going to get the machine pretty much at the bottom of its stroke there. So I'm going to move this block up to where I have a 3/4 inch flange width from the edge of the surface where it would ride on here to the bottom point of the upper die. And I'm going to go ahead and put these screws in here that it normally has. Now, I took this block off of here just to show you how it would slide on there. There is 3 different hole locations, like I said, in here. So get these screws started here. So there's positions here, one further back here and one here. That way, depending on where your depth is set, you can slide that back into the necessary position. So I'll demonstrate that in a little bit, but for now we're going to go ahead and tighten this in place where it is. And this is just these are little 1032 button head screws on here, using an 1/8 inch Allen. Get that secured in place. And so now when I go to run this, so I cut an edge in the panel here just to show how it'll operate here. This backstop here does have a curve cut into it. That way you can, as your panel is in here, you can easily follow that curve, whether it's an inside or an outside curve in your part. So yeah, so now, like I said, obviously as this is traveling up and down, you'll stick your panel in here and just apply a little bit of up pressure. Now, I didn't really do much in this pass, because what I like to do is do a test pass, kind of go through, make sure your travel, everything makes sense, make sure it's starting your line where you want your flange, make sure it's all adjusted properly before you really start giving it a little bit more. So I'm going to bring this back down to the bottom of the travel, and what you want to make sure is that you leave material thickness in between the 2 dies here, because you don't want that upper die, being that it's a point, to be hammering down necessarily into that corner, because obviously it'll thin the material out, and potentially, if you have it too much, potentially make it to where as the flange gets hammered around, could actually break the flange off of the base metal. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to go up just a hair with the bottom die. I'm going to crack those loose. We're going to adjust that up. Right there. It slides through, but it is making contact. I'm going to tighten that up there. And now we'll start doing a little more flanging. I'll put a little more up pressure on this as I work it through. So. Now on something, this has a pretty tight curve to it, so what I'm going to do is kind of work this up slowly. That way I'm not stretching too much at one time as I go through this. It's not going to be deforming the metal as much. So. I was able to work down through the part and then back through to kind of keep the amount of bend more even as it's working through the part. So we'll keep going here. Now the beauty about these obviously is that, you know, whatever degree you need your flange, you can obviously keep working it back and forth until you get your flange to that angle. So once you get to a point where you're liking your flange here, then you can go through on a shrinker stretcher machine, that sort of thing, if you're trying to keep your panel flat in this direction, because you can kind of see based on the curves that I had cut in here, it's actually, the panel's actually got in kind of this first couple inches here, it has a little bit of a reverse curve in this direction, but then as it goes back to this side of the curve here, it's actually curving in the other direction, and then back to a little bit of a reverse curve. So these do a good job. Like I said, depending on your flange width, you can get it set up whatever width you want and be able to run it through there. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to adjust this back a little bit further and kind of do a longer flange. So I'm going to remove these set screws. Slide this back. I'll just put it on the very last one just because. So I've got that adjusted all the way back, or at least all the way in the back hole, but I've got it moved up forward to where it's all the way forward in the slotted adjustment on the side. So it's going to give us a deeper flange, and so now we'll go through and do a straight flange. So you can see, obviously, you can start rolling through your flange there. Now, if you want to go full 90 on these dies, you can do that if you work it up as far as you can in the machine. And then what you need to do is then you can either bring the guide here all the way forward as close to this die as possible, and then it'll actually make your flange ride up on the angled part of the flanging die here, and then you'll have to chase down through, obviously, while applying a little more pressure up into the part. So that's just a quick demo on how these adjustable flanging dies work, and obviously you can create flanges you know, to fit a custom part on something that you don't want to hopefully maybe have to weld a flange into. You can just tip it right on there using these dies. So hopefully it gives you a good look at these. Thanks for watching this one. If you want any more information on these dies, give us a call, visit our website at Trick-Tools.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.